Hey guys, welcome back to 1v1, and I am joined by a very special guest, Extermicide. How you doing today,
How you
man?
doing, guys? I'm doing good. I'm tired. It was a busy day. I saved the galaxy. I slew a dragon, and I tamed a dinosaur. I'm a gamer, so
Yeah, I know with Lost Ark happening, I've pretty much done all that for the past couple of days. It's been kind of nuts. But just to, kind of do an icebreaker, what we do here is I try to have a very chill, relaxed environment. I'm gonna have some lo-fi in the background, and we're just gonna get to know you because you've been a content creator for Ashes of Creation going on 2 years,
yeah.
3 years. I mean, this will be the
No,
third
no,
year or two.
no,
Okay,
no. We're going on two.
going on 2 years. So I mean, there's
Well,
definitely
we're kind of like we're kind of like a quarter of the way into the second year now. We just at the beginning of the year we had our first year anniversary and everything. As far as the burning discussion goes.
of course. And so I kind of want to talk about that. So usually I always talk about the gaming journey and everything like that, but there's always something very specific about specifically being an Ashes of Creation content creator. So what led you down this road to like start wanting to make content for Ashes?
Yeah. Um,
Break it down for
all
me.
right. Well, if you've been following MMOs for any kind of time, you've had your heart broken at some point, you've been told lies by developers at some point. Um, you had games that were promised to be just these great things and they end up becoming epic fails. And all of a sudden I came across that lazy peon video talking about Ashes, and I'm like, oh my god, this thing just sounds absolutely freaking wonderful. Shortly after that, you start to see the interviews with Stephen Sharif, with Shroud, Summit One, Summit
Asmongold.
1G,
Yeah.
Asmongold. Um, and I've said it before, and I will say this phrase again, and people are actually starting to quote me on this, which is kind of funny and everything. Even either Steven really means what he's saying, or he's the best used car salesman in the freaking world. He's telling us as gamers everything that we want to hear. And this is when I decided that I was going to start doing some kind of content for Ashes. I created a YouTube video called the MMO Messiah, in which case I talk about my history in gaming for the first half of it, but the second half I took every quotation I could find of freaking Steven talking about Ashes, everything that he was promising for this freaking game. I compiled that and put it in this one video. If he ends up being like the past, the developers of past, the ones that who've ripped our hearts out in the past and everything, there is one video now on YouTube that has everything that he's promised in one freaking space. It's real easy for us to go back and say, okay, we're pulling this video out right here at timestamp this, you said this, and this is what we freaking got, what gives.
Mhm.
I wanted to make a video to kind of hold him accountable for what he was saying. And he actually came, he saw the video, he gave it a thumbs up, he made a little comment on it and everything, which I'm like, okay, this guy is he's keeping tabs with the community. He's following what everybody's saying. He's this guy's for freaking real. And I'm optimistic. I'm hopefully optimistic that he is. I really want to see this game succeed. So, at that point, I said, you know what, I'm going to continue to freaking make videos. In fact, I'm going to go a step further. We're going to start doing a weekly podcast. We're going to talk about this game as it freaking develops. And that's where we're at now. Almost a year and a half of freaking talking about this freaking game. Now, granted, we do a lot of freaking theory crafting. talking about things that we want to see implemented in the game. We have a limited amount of information to work with. We, just like every other content creator, we are working with the same information from the Ashes wiki that everyone else is working with, and everybody's regurgitating the same information over and over and over again. Steven, actually, I don't blame Steven, but he's not forthcoming in giving us new information to work with in a timely manner. So I blame Margaret for that, because I think she keeps him on a very short leash, because I think he wants to talk about his baby. I think he wants to just spill out some of the things that are happening behind the scenes. And she's like, no, no, you're not talking. And we're sitting back and we're taking these little freaking dribbles of information that come in every now and then. And I actually feel like a lot of times when they have nothing else to talk about, he just has one of the freaking graphic artists on his team, hey, create another freaking skin for this week's freaking live stream, and then they highlight that freaking, here's the new cosmetics for this month, and we're supposed to be, more freaking cosmetics, it's like, we're done with the cosmetics, man. Tell us about the freaking game. So I'm hopefully optimistic that we are going to get a good game. And honestly, I'm at a point, like, take as long as you freaking need. Just do it right. Don't give us a freaking 3 gig freaking download patch on day one, and crashing servers and stuff that should have been caught in freaking alpha and beta and were probably freaking reported but just never addressed. I've seen that a lot of times in past alphas and betas I've been in. So, like I said, just hopefully optimistic.
No, for sure. I think a lot of people are like, I mean, myself included, and a lot of other content creators. But do you think the reason why Margaret, if it is Margaret, keeping Steven on a short leash, is because do you think sometimes not only the content creators but also the community can't handle that much information? Do you think, like, it's not information overload, but do you think it's like you said, trying to hold them accountable? Because this game is in development, like, things are subject to change.
Steven has admitted himself, I think it was in the Summit 1G interview, stating how having an open production like this is like a double-edged sword.
Yep.
And it truly is. That first, I remember, I told one of my buddies, I said, you watch, this is, when the alpha, when the ban for content creators not being able to do anything, show anything, when that was lifted for during the alpha, I told him, watch, man, freaking, this is going to be the #1 freaking game that's happening on freaking Twitch. And it was. However, when you do something like that, it comes with a bunch of freaking people who don't quite understand what an alpha is or what it's meant to entail. And they go and they're watching these Twitch streams. And again, we're in a pre-freaking alpha. This is nowhere near being final, content or anything. But they're looking at it and they're like, "Oh, this sucks. This game sucks."
Oh, for sure.
And that's a dangerous game for Steven to be playing. On the one hand, he's trying to be open and honest and get the public's feedback about stuff, but at the same time, some people, and I'm guilty of this to an extent, if I play a game and the game at some point puts a sour taste in my mouth, I'll quit the game and I'll never want to go back to it because it put that sour taste in my mouth. I think a lot of people who view stuff on Twitch might get an opinion in their head and they'll say, "Oh, look at this. This is garbage." And then that opinion will stick in their head. They don't comprehend what I'm looking at is nowhere near what's going to be in release. They just don't get it. And there were even people during the alpha who bought into the alpha. They spent $500 or more. And then they were complaining that certain stuff in the game weren't working. And you didn't buy into a working game. You bought in to test this freaking game. You believe in it that much that you backed it up with your freaking money and want to be part of the team that helps back it up. But some people went into the freaking alpha just because they had the cash and don't comprehend what their actual responsibilities were supposed to be.
No, I can see that. I think if you look at 2010, right? So I would say the major MMOs like World of Warcraft, Star Wars: The Old Republic, Final Fantasy 14, these were all pre-Twitch, pre-streaming era games. So really the only MMO, at least to my knowledge, that we've actually been able to see a true beta of, or even an alpha in that extent, would be New World. So New World was literally the game that we saw open development for, to not the extent, not even to the extent of Ashes of Creation, but
Correct.
you know, basically watching streamers play it, watching, just the whole thing of the whole development of the New World debacle. And that was interesting because Amazon was definitely not ready for
And
them
they were
to make
told
it.
that,
Yeah,
and they
for them not
pulled
to
it
make an
off the
MMO.
shelf, and they could let it cook a little bit more, and then they came back, and it was still freaking bad.
Oh yeah, it's gonna take them a very long time. Now I know with Ashes of Creation and them trying to have that open development, do you think that once Alpha 2 goes on, hopefully sometime this year even, that the players would actually respond to it way better? Because again, I think there's going to be a huge jump from Alpha 1 to Alpha 2 as far as content, as
I
far as
totally agree with that, but I don't think we'll see that this year. I honestly don't think we'll see that this year.
Mhm.
I think we're going to see at some point, maybe during the summer, we're going to start getting into some spot testing. And the alpha people are going to be called back in for spot testing because that's something that Steven had on the schedule. I think the soonest we'll see Alpha 2 will probably be somewhere in early spring of next year. And granted, I mean, keep in mind if I really want this freaking game to come out, I hope I'm freaking wrong as hell. But if I'm not, and it's not till next year that the Alpha 2 comes out, then that makes you wonder, well, then how much further away is the betas and initially, finally the freaking release. So we may be another couple years out before the game gets released. I hope not. But at the same time, I'm going to backtrack to that statement I made earlier. I want Steven to take as long as they have to get the game right. I would rather go in to it loving the game and making it my very last MMO, and playing it for years to come and streaming it for freaking years to come, instead of going in and then 3 months later, oh, it's like New World. That's it. I'm done with this game. I'm done with MMOs forever and everything. It's a shame because the genre is already at this point has been steadily dying.
I agree with that.
And no one can deny that the top MMOs that we have out right now are all about 10 years old.
Longer.
Exactly. So Guild Wars 2, Elder Scrolls Online. That's a sign right there. That's a hint and a half for your ass that, the genre has been steadily freaking dying. And then you look at the freaking debacle that's called Blizzard, and you look at what's happening with World of Warcraft now. And,
Oh no.
me and my buddies have always said, nothing, because every freaking time a new MMO comes out, everyone's saying, oh, this is going to be the WoW killer. It's like, no. If anything kills WoW, it's going to be WoW itself. And it, close, it's Blizzard. Blizzard freaking stabbed themselves in the freaking foot. So
I want to kind of change a little bit of directions because you have like such a passion, and every time we talk in Discord, there's always a passion from you for MMOs. Like, so if you're so disappointed in this genre, why are you sticking to the genre? Because there's Call of Duty, there's RPGs, there's
I play all that. I play everything.
Okay.
I am. I don't like the word elitist, but for the most part, I am one of those guys who really freaking can't stand losing. So you put me in something like Call of Duty Warzone or something, I do very well. I look, I'm 53 right now. Okay,
Mhm.
for someone my age, I embarrass the hell out of freaking people half my age,
Mhm.
and do it with freaking ease. I like I said, I've been gaming since gaming became a thing. My first console was a Pong machine, TV tennis. That you know, and you were rich if you had one of those. But
Oh yeah, my friend had an Atari back then. That stuff was not cheap or easy to come by
but
anyway.
the genre, to answer your question, the genre I've absolutely always freaking loved. My first dibs into what was considered an actual MMO was a game called Habitat that was released by Lucasfilms or LucasArts or whatever they were called at the time, back in the early 80s. It was released for CompuServe, and they charge
Oh
you six
wow.
cents a minute to freaking play it. And this is through a 300 baud modem. But it
What?
was, yeah, and you can pull up a video, write that down. Habitat, Lucasfilms, that Habitat, and look it up on YouTube.
That's
And there's
interesting.
videos that actually show it. And on a 300 baud modem, you actually got to create your freaking character, and you got to walk around with the 80s pixel art, and you you got to walk around and meet other real players and have conversations with them and do things. And this was like
Hmm.
the first iteration of a what we would call an MMO. Now, my first modern day MMO would be City of Heroes.
Mm.
Okay, and the interesting thing about that is that's where I met a lot of buddies that I still hang with today. A couple whom you've already met, and while we were playing that, although it was good for what it wasn't perfect. It had issues. We can
Oh,
admit
for
that.
sure.
But then we got the news that Blizzard was making an MMO based on their Warcraft series, which everyone has played Warcraft 1, 2, and 3. And we were like, holy shit, those games in themselves
Oh
have
yeah.
such a thick freaking lore that this game can't be nothing but a success. So while we were in City of Heroes for a year, while WoW was being freaking polished up and everything, we were recruiting people for a World of Warcraft guild while in City of Heroes.
Mm. Okay.
Okay, we went into the freaking beta, we went live, and to this day, I have two records in World of Warcraft. One being I was the most hated person in World of Warcraft. There was actually a petition that went out trying to get me removed as from power, get me removed from being a leader of a guild because some
Oh
people just hated
wow.
me that much. Um, I we were alliance. Horde would come storming in. Me and three friends would be there. The Horde would jump off their horses, kill me, wave at my three friends, hop back on their horses, and ride away. Okay, so
Ah.
that was one record I had, was the most hated freaking person. The other record we had is we had the largest guild in WoW at the time, and I don't know when or if it was ever broken. At our heyday, we had 1,200 people in our freaking guild,
Mhm.
and granted, about half of those were recruited while we were in City of Heroes.
Oh wow. Well, I mean, to me, I find it interesting because it's like when you were doing all that, you were my age, and it's like I sort of look at you and I'm like, man, if I'm in my 50s and I'm playing like Ashes of Creation, I know some people may think that's like, um, oh my god, like horrible or bad or whatever, dude. That would be a privilege if I can literally play this game. Which I mean, the longest running MMO right now. I mean, is well, I'm probably wrong, but WoW is going 17 years strong or something
Yeah,
crazy. So I mean, and I think again with Ashes being developed in UE5, the longevity, if Steven can really cultivate not only a great community like he's already been doing, but also create an awesome development team that has not only the short minded ideas that usual devs happen here in the United States, but the long term, like looking at it 10, 15, 20 years in the future, and can actually stick to their core principles. Because the reason why WoW is just at a terrible state is because they forgot all of their values, all of the things that made WoW great. They completely forgot about and erased from memory. And now
I agree with that. I agree with that statement partly.
Okay.
Part of the freaking problem, in my opinion, is that a lot of these WoW developers were probably very young guys back when freaking WoW was created.
Yes. They were in their 20s. Yeah.
Right. So those guys now, as older freaking developers, have probably lost touch with a lot of the community. They still think the old ways work. They're going with an old ways mentality on a lot of the shit. And what they really need to do is, they've been needing it for a long time, is to freaking fire almost everyone on their freaking staff and get a whole new younger crew in there with new thoughts and new ideas and everything. And it pains me to freaking say that because I'm one of them freaking older guys, but I'm not an older guy who's working at freaking Blizzard getting those big bucks for creating trash every 4 years.
Oh yeah, preaching.
There was a freaking time when Blizzard announced a new game was coming out, you didn't even have to know what that game was. If it was coming from Blizzard, you knew it was going to be good.
Yeah. The Blizzard polish.
Yeah, Diablo, StarCraft. I mean, the IPs that they come out with, even Overwatch to an extent, were just freaking fantastic freaking games. But now what they freaking done with their in the status of the freaking company and everything, they're going to keep Blizzard. They're going to try to make up for some of the lost population now by creating a World of Warcraft mobile.
Well, that's been in the works for a while. I mean, to be fair, they've been wanting to get into the mobile like arena for a long time.
But with Microsoft now leading the helm and everything, what you have now is a freaking company that's being unionized. So they're getting ready to. They already are, and they've already announced on Twitter they're doing a hiring thing. You've seen the post from Steven Sharif on Twitter saying we're hiring for this, that, and the other. Blizzard is starting to do the same thing, and I've already seen the freaking posts. They're trying to hire for that next freaking chapter a brand new IP address, a survival game.
Oh yeah.
So a Blizzard survival game created by brand new young blood developers who are all unionized and not dealing with those freaking idiots in upper Blizzard guys because they're being made to step down or they've been demoted, and now you got Microsoft freaking running the helm. Well, you know, it could be good, it could be bad. It can't be any worse than what Blizzard's done in the past, but then again, Microsoft doesn't have the best track record as far as games go either. With the exception of their flight simulator, which has always done very well.
I mean, I personally don't have the opinion, or not the opinion, but I just don't think that Microsoft is really going to change, or at least WoW, because I don't play Diablo, I don't play StarCraft. I mean, WoW was my game. Until I see Phil Spencer say, Ian Hazzikostas, you're fired, because Ian Hazzikostas is the lead game designer, or the lead game designer for World of Warcraft. He's been the lead game designer for expansions now. If they fired him, they fired Steve Denuser, who's the lead narrative designer, I might look back at Blizzard and be like, oh, because again, they were in charge. They're making a lot of the final decision-making processes that make the game terrible. And I don't know if they're really going to do that. I think they're just going to keep trunking on the way I think they just wanted the IP. They wanted a metaverse experience.
Yeah,
but Blizzard stuff.
But the one thing about that is I don't think anybody wants to inherit a company with that kind of luggage.
That's a lot of luggage.
Right, yeah. So Microsoft freaking bought Bethesda last year, or is it the year before? Okay, yep. So okay, they got the Elder Scrolls Online under their umbrella now. However, Microsoft has done the smart thing. They've stayed back and they're letting them run the ship as normal.
Correct.
However, with Blizzard, I don't think they can do that because Blizzard is
Completely
still doing
mismanaged.
court battles.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much freaking headaches, and I think there's gonna have to be a shuffling of freaking people within that company. I mean, we're kind of getting far away from Ashes here in the discussion there and everything, but
Oh, it's fine.
it's something you gotta discuss because we're talking about World of Warcraft, you know, and you're talking about the king of MMOs, for, whether or not you believe that statement or not. It, and
It
look,
was.
I don't know. I don't care what you feel about World of Warcraft. Okay, love it or hate it. I think WoW, when it came out, it set a certain bar as to what a good MMO should be.
Oh, for sure.
And,
For
and,
sure.
and that was back in the day. And every MMO has been chasing that bar ever since. Every MMO has been wanting to freaking beat WoW at their own game and failing miserably. So,
Well, and here's the thing with that, right? So everybody's been trying to recreate the Krabby Patty formula with World of Warcraft, right? So you have Star Wars: The Old Republic that is basically trying to be a WoW clone. You even have Final Fantasy 14, which even Yoshi P, the director of the game, said that they were trying to be like World of Warcraft. And you have Wildstar that was trying to be the WoW killer. You have all these things. I think it's time for just a new direction. And even with Lost Ark doing its thing, it's actually trying to copy a whole different game, really, because it's really going off of like Path of Exile and Diablo. So instead of trying to copy World of Warcraft, they're doing the isometric MMO style action RPG game, which I think is very much needed because it's like another third person top down game that's similar to WoW. I mean, there's tons of them, and they're all
yeah.
the same. And even going into Ashes of Creation, Ashes is not trying to copy any well, I mean, I would say any
They
current
are and they're
MMO.
not.
Yeah, they are and
I,
they're not.
I I think they're trying to take the best parts of everything that has been released out there and try to put it under one roof, which is very ambitious. However, the dangerous part about that is most of the things that Steven are implementing is based on his games that he's very very familiar with, games that he liked, like Lineage 2 and
Mm-hmm. Arcage.
what's an Arcade. Okay, so those each of those games may have had good things to them, but they also had bad things.
Of course.
Um, there's a reason why games evolve, you know, and start putting new stuff in and everything, because it gets to a point too where you can just get done with an MMO. And at least it was for me. There were so many freaking MMOs out at one point that between the East and the West, they were just being crapped out like every other freaking month there was a new MMO. However, it didn't matter what MMO you played, it was the same formula each time. Go kill 10 rats, this is in the beginner stages, and
Yeah.
ending with killing some big freaking super fucking cat and killing some freaking super demon at the end. um, I think as long as Steven doesn't get hung up on those games that he fondly remembers,
Mm-hmm.
because what worries me about that is he could very well have such a fond memory of Lineage 2, and in his head he doesn't realize it, but he's actually trying to remake the freaking game into a
Yeah.
modern day MMO. um and I discussed this with a lot of different people, and my opinion, I think a lot of people are misled with that. They think that their fondest memories are of a certain game, and I disagree with that. I think your fondest memories may have been while you were playing said game, but your fondest memories are there because of the people who you were playing with at the time, the
Correct.
group that you were logging in with every freaking night. You were meeting up with that certain group and you were going and doing whatever you were going to do, and that's why you have such fond memories of that freaking game. And
Mm-hmm.
you can go back and this can be any kind of game. Battlefield, just any
Oh, for
freaking
sure.
game. You can go back to that game years later, and you're like, you know what, this game sucks now. And it's not that the game sucks now. The game is still the same freaking game, but you're not playing with the same people anymore. Lifestyles have freaking changed.
The vibe
People,
is all off.
especially with me, with my age and everything, guys I used to play with now have families now. They
For sure.
they're retired. Some are freaking dead. I'll go that freaking far. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's your memories are what you make of them, and I think Steven wants to try to recapture that part of MMOs, which is why he doesn't want to have certain things like a group finder in the game.
Mhm.
He wants to try to force people to have to communicate with one another and try to form a group with one another. And I think that's cool and everything. I think it'll be easy for us older players who are playing, but some of these younger guys, I hate to say, are just this is what I see from a majority of these younger players, and their friend is sitting right there next to them and they're freaking texting them.
Yeah.
They have no communication skills that when if you put them in a situation like that, some of these guys are going to be completely freaking lost. And then you're going to get that argument of this game's too hard.
Well,
I,
and
I
that
can't get anything accomplished.
so and that's what I actually was going to lead right into is the I feel, and I've been kind of preaching this to a certain extent, especially now with playing Lost Ark. Do you feel like there's been an evolution of over, how do I say this, like being over coddled? Because a lot of the MMOs now, the quality of life features that a lot of MMOs have, for instance, fast travel. In Lost Ark, you can zip zap your way across the map, do whatever you need to do. Distance is really, it matters once you just get there, but once you get there, you get to your little teleportation node. You pop it in, bam, you can teleport. And World of Warcraft is basically similar like that with the Hearthstones. Final Fantasy has their teleportation crystals. Do you feel like with Ashes trying to make, because right now everyone calls New World a walking simulator because there is no fast travel. Do you feel like that's going to be the case for Ashes? Do you think people are not going to give it a fair chance because it's not too hard, it's just inconvenient, and the inconvenience is, well, why is it inconvenient? All these other MMOs do it, so why can't Ashes? Like, do you feel like that's going to be a thing?
Yeah, but it's gonna be a certain faction of freaking people that are like that. I really hate to use this kind of phrase, but like the snowflakes who are used to having everything handed to them, and when they don't have something handed to them, they get loud and obnoxious until it gets freaking handed to them. I, as a gamer, like to figure things out on my own. When we first went into WoW, when it was freaking brand new and everything, you get a quest and it said, there's a cobalt cave up there in the northeast. It didn't mark your map and tell you where it was.
Yeah, it did not.
It didn't leave little breadcrumbs for you to follow right to the
Yeah.
freaking entrance of the cave. You had to find that freaking cave from a limited amount of freaking hints that were given in the quest log. And I like that. I like the sense of achievement when you go and you finish something and then you get rewarded because you feel like you earned that reward. And everybody now these days, they expect to just be handed, Stephen has used the phrase that you get handed a cookie because you participated in the game.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to go that route, and I applaud him for that. Now that you said that, stand by your guns and make it so. Don't
Yeah.
bend to them, because what's going to happen is they're going to go in, they're going to see, hell, doing it this way is kind of hard. And then they're going to go to the forums and they're going to be bitching left and right. And what you got to do is you got to freaking ignore those freaking posts and stand by your game. This is your vision. This is your game. And granted, Steven has the luxury that he's not under a producer, so he doesn't have to freaking answer to anybody. However, he is in business for himself. He is investing a lot of money into Ashes of Creation. And the last thing he wants to see is for his investment to fail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, for sure.
However, like I said, I compiled everything that he's freaking promised for in this game. He keeps saying that there will never be no pay to win.
Mhm.
So, the first time we see pay to win freaking enter that shop, I guarantee there's going to be a freaking. You think those people were loud saying the game was too hard? Wait
Oh,
till you put a pay to win item in the freaking cash shop and see how loud freaking people get.
oh no, I get you. I guess my whole thing is that I I want there to be some level of challenge. And I also want there to be a level of exploration because that's what WoW was. You had to explore, you had to actually go out and the thing is that, playing Lost Ark for the past couple of days, there's this kind of mentality or trend to just get to end game. Do skip all the quests, don't read anything, you know, and just go. And I feel like Ashes is going to be very different from that model because a lot of the
It's
quests I
got to be.
feel they have to matter. The dialogue, especially if it's not going to have any voice acting, right? That's a whole other conversation.
Oh,
If it doesn't have voice acting, you have to read because if you don't read and you skip all of that, it's not going to have a little blip on the map that's going to tell you where to go unless they change that. I don't know.
yeah.
And the thing is that especially for how big Steven touts the World of Era to be, I would really love for it to be a very slowed down, like it's not about leveling as fast as you can because I don't know if the game is really going to be designed that way. Because if the other thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Steven wants leveling to matter too. It's going to be virtually impossible for you to go from level 1 to level 50 in 1 day or 2 days or even a week. He said something about like 90 days or something ridiculous. So I can't remember if it was 90 days or
Yeah, we'll see
45
how
days.
that gets handled.
Yeah, I don't know, but
I mean, I get what you're saying because what happens is on day one, there is a group of the community in every MMO. This is not limited to any one particular MMO, but on day number one, there's a group of freaking people who want to hit that top level first before everyone else. Server first is a freaking real thing. It's a title, that you get to carry. And everyone seems to remember that guy who became the top level guy on the freaking server first. So that's going to happen regardless. However, if he can really somehow slow that leveling process down, I would love that. I'm so freaking hardcore, dude. I would like it to. If top level is 50, I would like to see it take a year to fucking hit level 50. And this is for someone who plays every freaking day. I don't want it to be a week later you're top level, and then you gotta listen to all the other freaking idiots, and you guys know who you are. It's the ones who sit there and they hit top freaking level, and then they say, "Well, I hit level 50 and there's nothing else to do in the game." It's like, really? Did you level up all your crafting? Did you freaking, especially in Ashes, did you freaking try being a bounty hunter, a pirate? Did you freaking level up your freaking, the religious freaking aspects of freaking stuff? There's going to be so many different side quest tracks, of things to freaking level.
Do you think so? That's the other thing, right? So again, playing Lost Ark, the reason why people want to get out of the leveling experience is because really the leveling experience is boring. Like outside of the major set pieces of the game, which is like a couple of them, like story moments, the questing itself is very bland. Ashes, if it sticks to its interconnected dependencies between all of the systems that Steam has created, endgame starts now. Like level 1, endgame is now. So most people want to rush to endgame to actually play the game. Ashes is going to be the opposite, because if all of the systems are going to start going online and everything's going to be available to you, you're already in endgame. You can do the caravan system. You can do a castle node siege if you get the scroll. You can do all of these things. You don't need to be at endgame to do all of these things. And I think
I agree with almost everything you said there, except when I played WoW, I actually enjoyed the whole leveling process in World of Warcraft, at least, early World of Warcraft, because all the quests led you to another quest that was a continuing story of the lore, and it's something Blizzard has to, you have to applaud them for, is that the lore was so thick with Warcraft that you just got into it. And then with the expansions came out, and it just freaking evolved more, and then they kind of got worse over the freaking years with the storyline. That's neither here nor there. But I played MMOs, like you said, where the questing was just one stupid quest after another, and it was just completely freaking boring. I like questing if you have good writers, and we know for a fact that they do. They somehow stole the guy from who writes the freaking questing for Elder Scrolls Online. He now works for Ashes. So there you go. You got a guy who knows how to write good quests and storylines, because Elder Scrolls has done very well for itself over these years, and they're still considered one of the best MMOs. So we got that guy on freaking board. There's a lot of good things that are going in Steven's direction right now. So you got the guy from Elder Scrolls. You got what's his name, Bear McCree, who is coming in to do the music. And if you guys don't know, he did music for The Walking Dead, Battlestar Galactica. It's not like this guy's a nobody. He is really freaking good at what he does, and how Steven landed him is like, oh my god, this is just going to be unfreaking believable. We got Unreal Engine 5 coming into the, already in the freaking game now. And then Steven in his head has already this thick lore laid out already. And that's going to be the questionable part about it, is how are you going to present that lore to us?
That's a very good question. Only because I ask, because if each server is going to be very unique in where it goes, how can you have a linear story? Because if
I don't think there will be. I think what we're going to see is people in the different forums are going to be saying, they're going to be piecing the shit together. They're going to be saying, hey, we found out that if you go here, these dwarves get really freaking pissed off because this freaking happened. And it's like, oh, really? Because we found out if you go here, they like that shit a lot. Yeah. And they're going to start piecing parts of these stories together from different servers in the forums. At least that's what I'm kind of speculating is going to happen. And sooner or later, you're probably going to see a website come up that's going to be like the guide to Ashes. It'll be like another Ashes wiki that's going to have all these freaking results from different servers, these quests and everything. It's going to start to piece together a lot of this information. And then we're going to get the full freaking lore for those who actually want to go in and spend freaking hours upon hours freaking actually reading it.
I think that's a way to do it. I've always sort of thought that no matter what node you go to, there will always be an NPC that pops up there to continue the main narrative quest. So it doesn't matter what node you go to, but there's will be side quests and other quests that you'll have to discover to get more, depending on what you opened up or where you go. If you go to the mountains, go to the forest, go to the snowy mountains, wherever it is you go. So I think there is, at least in my head, there's going to be probably like an overarching narrative, but there's also going to be these little side narratives that are going to start springing out depending on where your server actually goes on. Just like you said, I think it's going to be a mixture of like artifact finding, Indiana Jones storytelling mixed in with an actual a completed narrative, just like a forward fronting narrative. So that's
and with that line of thinking, you got to remember, if that's true, then you're only touching the tip of the freaking iceberg, because Steve is also saying that your actions are going to matter. Yes. If everyone's freaking harvesting this one freaking area so much, they might be digging into this freaking mountain and then they awaken a freaking dragon. Okay, and in fact, there was something that was actually shown in Lazy Peon's video that kind of showed it in animated form. So they dug too deep, they awakened the dragon. Now this dragon comes out, it's on the freaking loose, and now everybody has to kind of come together to freaking take care of this freaking threat. Okay, so there's one freaking obstacle that actually can happen based on what's happening with the freaking players. Then you got stuff that can happen that don't even need the players whatsoever. Let's use weather as a perfect example for this. And let's say your guild is used to going to this one particular lake, because at the bottom of that freaking lake is the entrance into some dungeon. But winter comes, now the lake is frozen over, you can't get in that freaking that dungeon anymore.
Oh wow.
So I mean, think about that. You
Yeah.
know, so now you guys got to find something to do until freaking weather, until the weather gets better. Start storming some other freaking place. Steven wants to make the world ever freaking changing. And then he wants it to change on top of that based on what the users themselves freaking do. I
Mhm.
like the concept. About everything about the freaking game, I really freaking like. The only thing I'm kind of questionable about is I'm not sure about the whole not having factions type thing. I'm so used to
Oh,
Horde
faction
versus
based.
Alliance, or at least three, two or three freaking factions. To have a freaking game where, all right, we're all just people, we can all just get along and everything, and because at that point, let's say you come over a freaking hill. Okay, so let me back up. If you're in World of Warcraft and you come over a hill and you're Alliance, you see all the blue players, you see all the red players, you know which side is yours. However, in Ashes, if you come over a hill and there's two armies that are going at each other, which army do you help? There, you don't know which one is which. So you're probably gonna just say, well, fuck this, I'm out of here. I don't know who to help, because if I go down there, they're both gonna freaking attack me, not knowing who the hell I am, because I'm not freaking in a raid group with any of them. I
But isn't
don't
that the
know.
exciting part, though? I mean, I guess coming from World of Warcraft
I
for
don't
almost
know.
16 years, I find that to be very like exhilarating. Like if I just went over a hill and I saw these two gigantic raid teams going at it, I'm like, oh my god, I'm not in this at all. Like I would probably
It's
either,
exciting to me in the aspect that I want to be part of it, but
yeah.
okay, so which team do I join, or how do I get an invite to be part of it? I trust me, I love PvP, and in Ashes, I already have grand plans of freaking building a ship and being a pirate. I
Oh
want a
yeah.
whole freaking crew of like-minded freaking people. I want to go explore. I want to freaking find treasure. And when I see other ships on the sea, I want to freaking battle them. And if I see a freaking town that's like close to the freaking water, I want to go and try to bombard it from my ship. I want to gank people and then run from the fucking bounty hunters. I want to get into all that. I want to be a freaking bad boy and everything and have fun freaking doing it and make my own stories, make little YouTube videos, of the exploits of my freaking character, what kind of trouble I got into each day, and just have fun freaking doing it, and look forward to logging in each day with my group of friends who are part of my freaking pirate clan or whatever we
Oh
want to
yeah.
call ourselves, and we all go out and freaking, what we want to do today, I don't know, let's go freaking try to get some treasure and everything, because whatever we gotta freaking do, because we gotta increase our armor or whatever, and we do it together, and we make those kind of memories I was talking about earlier together. So then years from now, if Ashes was ever to die, if it ever got to that freaking state, we can at least say, God, I miss the days when we used to play Ashes. you
Oh
know
yeah. I think back like it was like in Cataclysm for World of Warcraft for me. I joined a guild that became lifelong friends pretty much. Like I still know them to this day and stuff. And raiding during that time for me was so awesome. And WoW was just the medium. It's like a poker night. Like if a guy's poker night, you have a group of 6 people all come over. It's not the poker that's really memorable. It's like you said, it's the interaction. It's the people that you're with that make that memory. And I severely miss that because I think right now raiding has, I mean, I feel like MMOs have just been a raiding simulator for a lot of people, and people only get together to raid and that's it. There's no other content that we can really group up for and do it. We just raid, and then after we raid we get off, and then we go back to being by ourselves doing content by ourselves. And I
Have
feel
you
like,
grown to become anti-raiding, or does that put a bad taste in your mouth, or with the right people
oh,
you would still raid?
with the right people I would definitely still raid, but my whole thing is that I just want more group content you can do. And the reason why I'm so interested in Ashes is because everything in Ashes is gonna be group content. Professions, group content, because hey, with a corruption system and everybody being a potential enemy, you can't go and gather by yourself. You need a couple of buddies to go and gather with you. So every activity that you are basically going to do, if it's not within the node system or the node city, you have to do with a group. And I think that is so awesome because I think group play just being watered down to just dungeons and raids is just such a disservice. Like, how do you call that an MMO? Like, there should be so many other activities you can do other than just dungeons and raids. That's all I'm saying. Like, and I feel with the way Steven thinks and all the systems that I've seen, everything has that interconnective tissue for almost everything to be group content. And that's what really just gets me so excited, especially the caravan system. Like, I can talk so much about the caravan system because the caravan system is, again, a system where in World of Warcraft is completely invalidated because you can just mail all of your herbs, you can mail completed gear to anybody from your server instantly if they're in the same guild or whatever. So all of that gameplay is completely negated. But in Ashes of Creation, if you're like an artisan leather worker, right? And you are in the snowy mountains, but no one in the tropics in the south where the equator is or whatever, they don't have a leather worker. You can make a caravan all the way down there and actually make a killing, selling all of your goods and doing all that because of the regionalized auction houses, or even making a treaty if you belong to a guild, right? And the thing I love about Ashes too, again, is the server and having the server recognition. Like you said, like you'll be known on your server for something. And if you have all these mega guilds that are forming, right? And then like, hey, none of our people are leather workers. We know there's a really awesome leather worker you have. We will literally take our entire guild and we will all caravan down to where we are just to make sure he's protected. Like that can literally happen. And I think that's awesome. Like no other game has those kinds of systems in place.
I want him to make sure that he has systems in place though that make I'm trying to figure a proper way of wording this. So obviously I started WoW. I played WoW in the very beginning. I also went back and tried it again recently, before the whole fiasco. And night and day, the differences how WoW was then and how it is now. And now you get from doing a simple quest and everything, you get an epic weapon, or maybe doing a chain of freaking quests, you can actually even gain yourself a freaking legendary weapon and everything. I want in Ashes that these kind of freaking epics and legendary. I miss the days of WoW when you earned that stuff and then you walked around Ironforge and everybody's looking at you. It's like, look at his freaking armor. Oh my God, look at his weapon. And they were checking you out because they know how damn hard it was to get that stuff. Oh yeah. And now it's just handed to everybody, and it just kind of doesn't mean anything anymore when everybody is wearing the same shit.
And the whole rare gear. So rare, you saw so many people in blue gear because that was the common stuff to have. But when you saw someone in raid epics, you're like, holy God. Like he actually
PvP gear who spent all that grinding time. Yeah.
It's just, it was that exclusivity that made the game special because you knew this wasn't easy to do. And I think with Ashes of Creation, how they're creating
time.
Oh yeah, and it took time. And their profession system and how the profession system is going to be very comprehensive to how Steven describes it. I'm really excited about that because I would love for a lot of people, like if let's say there was an end game or whatever, that everybody's kind of like in rare gear for like the first year, and you see just a handful of people in epics because epics take a lot of time to craft, a lot of mats to craft, and you have the exclusivity of who artisaned up to that specific profession, right? Because if everybody on your server profession to lumber, like a lumberjack, and you just have all these lumberjacks and there's no blacksmith, there's no, like all these other professions, you're like, what the heck? Like I need someone to craft my stuff, which means someone either has to start all over again and say, well, I won't be a lumberjack, I'll be something else. Like all these things can literally happen. Like I'm just saying, like to me, it sounds so exciting because I want to feel like a noob again in an MMO. Like I really do. I don't want to feel like I know absolutely everything about a game. And I like that sense of discovery where you might make a YouTube video being a creator and having to go back and say, oh, no, there's actually an easier or better way to do it, than what I said 2 weeks ago.
That's one thing that I'm really sad about. And a lot of people are going to give me hate comments about this freaking statement, but the whole thing with social media, that how it's evolved and everything. Now we've gotten to a point in gaming where you don't know where something is, you don't know how to do something. You just go to YouTube and you type it in, and there's a video that shows you step by step how to freaking do it. Don't know how to kill this particular raid boss? Let's look it up on YouTube. Oh, that's all we got to do? Okay, guys, this is what we have to do. You stand there, you stand there. We go in and out. This is what we do. I am so freaking hoping that Steven, using raid bosses as an example, gives a raid boss like 100 different freaking abilities that he can freaking use, and they're randomized. You don't know which ones he's going to pull out of his freaking pocket. You know, the fight will never be a choreographed thing like the WoW raid bosses were. You know, okay, phase 1, this is going to happen. Phase 2, this is going to happen. No, we don't know what's going to freaking happen. You can go and fight that boss 5 different times, and every single time it's going to be completely freaking different. And I would love to see stupid shit freaking happen too. Like a lottery type thing where 1 in a millionth chance of this freaking happening. The raid boss comes out, he looks at this 40-man raid group and he says, fuck this, and just throws the treasure down on the ground and walks away and leaves. And you didn't even have to fight the freaking boss. I would, if I was in that raid group and that happened, I could just imagine how loud the cheers would be. You know, I'd probably go freaking deaf, and we'd be laughing our ass off, and it would be something we would never forget.
So that's another thing I actually wanted to mention is world bosses. So, you know, you were talking about the raids and how you feel like raid bosses should be. Like one thing that I hate about world bosses too, you know, specifically seeing World of Warcraft, is just zergable bosses. They're basically just loot pinatas that you hit over and over until it dies. Agreed. I would actually love if there was actually world interactions that you would need to engage in before you encounter the world boss. As an example, think of like attunements, right? You had to do attunements in old classic to be able to go inside the raid, right? So if there's a fire dragon out in the forest that has the, you know, he's burning down the forest, and you go in, no debuff or no buff, you just go in and be like, I'm gonna go and try to slay the dragon with my 40 friends. As soon as you go to that dragon, he just burns you alive. Like you just die instantly, insta death, and you're like, what the hell? Like, and then it just keeps happening like that over and over, and everyone's complaining like, oh, the boss is bugged, it just keeps one-shotting people, Well, Steven's like, no, it's correct, you guys just haven't figured out how to engage the boss yet. And so there's something in the world where maybe you go into an ice cave and then you have to get this buff that only lasts for like 40 minutes. And that way it douses you in that, you know, special magical ice power. And now you can engage that world boss with. Like,
it's actually kind of funny that you brought this up, because during our alpha, there was a fire dragon.
Oh, I know. He
was it's not the one that you keep seeing in the videos though. This was a different one.
Was it inside the dungeon?
This one's open world boss, but he's kind of like in an area he was surrounded by a force field. And what would happen is when you went, someone would announce in chat, you know, hey, we're forming a raid party, we're gonna go kill the freaking dragon. So day 1, when that happened, I went riding down there, and I see where all the raid is and everything, and I went through the force field, and when I got in there, my skin started I started burning alive. And I dropped dead. I took an experience freaking loss for dropping dead. I ran back to get my body, and of course I had to like run into that force field again, and while I'm taking damage, I'm picking up my freaking loot and running back out. And come to find out that you had to go through all this freaking crafting to craft a pendant that protected you and allowed you to be in that force field area. Now, once you had that pendant, it was still one of those zergable bosses. So, you know, but it was nice to see that there was something new kind of added to the mix there. I want to see Steven go so much further with that, though. You know, and like you gave, you know, your example there is just freaking perfect. I want to see world bosses that are not fixed to a certain locale. I want them to
Rome.
whenever they spawn, they roam. And if they get too close to a town, they just start freaking attacking that freaking node, you know, and start causing havoc. Where we have to put that freaking alarm out. It's like, look, everybody, you need to freaking come back to our freaking home. We're gonna lose our freaking home, and
Yeah.
and that's the thing. If you have an apartment, if you have a house that you freaking, if you invested in that freaking node in some way, shape, or form, then you have something to lose. And I like that aspect of it. If you have a business that's there in that freaking city, you have something to lose if this node falls. So you need to come and help, even if you're not a PvPer. It reminds me of like those old fantasy films that you watch where the little guy who has the little freaking market, you know, he has a little table that he's selling melons at from and everything, and all of a sudden the place gets freaking attacked by somebody. Well, he's picking up a pitchfork and he's freaking trying to help because he stands to lose his freaking business. And I want to have that kind of feeling where if we don't participate and help defend, then we stand to freaking lose. I want at every freaking turn in this game, I want to feel like I can freaking die. I stand to lose something that, you know, and in some cases when I do die, that you take that XP debt, you know, to help keep people from leveling too fast, you know, make death a real freaking thing. And you're going to do your best not to freaking die, but it's going to be unavoidable.
Well, so now that you bring up that point, so by the time people will watch this video, it'll be Wednesday and they've already seen my video about griefing. So I'm making a video about griefing. Now, if you talk about griefing and what it is to grief, you have to talk about death. And death in Ashes of Creation definitely matters. On paper, it is very painful to die. And so my whole thing is and actually going in and going down the list of the things that happen to you when you die, do you feel like it's too punishing? Because in my opinion, I'm fine with certain aspects of it, but I feel like it does need to be tailored. I'm not trying to make it less hardcore, but I'm trying to make it fair, because I feel like coming as from a raiding perspective, right? As a raider from World of Warcraft, you die a lot raiding. I feel
if
like
you're a raider and if you raid,
correct. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I feel, and I don't know if you would agree with me on this. I feel if you are doing PvE, there should be absolutely no XP debt. If you are engaging in PvP, there should be XP debt. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I am all about liking the challenge. If I try to kill this, if I'm doing PvE questing and I go and this mob freaking kills me, maybe it's like, oh, okay, I figured out his mechanics. Okay, I know what to do now. And I go back, and then if I die again, then at that point, I'm probably going to wait for my friends to log in and say, hey, guys, come and freaking help me kill this guy. And again, that goes back to the whole thing of having people being forced to communicate and work with other freaking people. I like that aspect of freaking MMOs. So I don't want to be, I know some people are just freaking unsociable. I know some people would just like to go from 0 to 50 without ever freaking speaking a word to anybody. But if that's the case, why are you playing an MMO? Honestly.
No, for sure. I completely agree with you on that. But there's like 7 things that happen to you when you die, including XP debt. Yeah,
and I love the aspect, like if you sit there and, hey, I'm a passive, I don't freaking, fight.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna lose more of your freaking shit when you die.
Yeah.
Where at least if you try to defend yourself, you're only gonna lose a portion of it. I love that aspect of it.
Yep.
One thing that comes up all the time in burning discussion, did we talk about burning discussion at all? Did we even mention it at all?
Not yet, no.
Okay, so anyway, it's the freaking show that I host each week. Anyway, one topic that freaking comes up a lot is, and some people don't like it when I use this freaking term, but I call Ashes a hardcore MMO. And I don't care what you think of it or how you look at it, everything in some way, shape, or form is connected back with PvP.
Oh, yes.
So if you're not a PvPer, surprise, it's going to happen whether you want it to or not, and you're going to try to avoid it as much as you want, but it's going to freaking happen at some point. This is going to be a game where you're going to die. I'm convinced of that in my head. You are going to freaking die.
Oh, for sure.
So then the old freaking saying comes, into play. There's safety in numbers, and I think that's going to be very freaking true in Vera. If you are going out and you're questing, quest with friends. The more, the better. Because there's going to be other groups that are going to be doing the same exact thing. And the last thing you want to be is that one guy who's just freaking trying to quest solo, and then you look to your right and there's 5 guys freaking charging you, and then you're dead. Okay? Or, I stated this one on our show too. If my guild or whoever, if my clan or whoever I'm with decides they're going to go fight this one freaking boss, and as I'm traveling there to see that freaking boss, I see this guy over here. We'll call him Ludo. So I see Ludo over here, and he's just freaking harvesting. Okay. Well, we kill the boss and everything, and when we come back, guess what? There's Ludo over there freaking still harvesting. I know for a fact he's been harvesting for over an hour now. Harvesting is going to be difficult in this freaking game. When you freaking harvest something, it despawns and it respawns somewhere else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So you grab shit when you can, but you know what? If you see a guy who's been doing the work for you for the last freaking hour, guess what? I'm killing him and I'm taking all that damn shit. He just saved me a lot of freaking time.
Oh, yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of freaking pacifist, freaking minded people with that kind of mentality. It's like, look, all I want to do is freaking harvest and craft and then sell my goods. That's all I want to do.
But you're still going to need friends if that's what you want to do. Like, you can't. You're going to have to need friends. And the thing is, with this game, I think that's the thing with the whole babying that has been happening with a lot of the MMOs. Is that they've been catering to the solo player. And I think catering to the solo player is like forming to the lowest common denominator. Like, especially when it comes to an MMO. Like, this is supposed to be a group game. It's not just, it's a group game only for this portion and it's solo the rest of the way. Oh no, it's a group game for this portion and it's the solo the rest of the way. No, it's a group game all the time, like in every facet. And I have a hard time thinking a lot of people are going to get on that program because they've been almost conditioned to do things by themselves. And when they do things by themselves and they're suffering for it and feel penalized for doing so, they're going to want an easier soloing experience. And I think, and again, we haven't even tested Alpha 2 yet, but I feel like that's going to be really bad if that happens.
A perfect example of what you just said, though, is like, let's go back to the crafter guy and everything. Remember at the beginning of this conversation, one of the things that we said was, I think Steven is going in, he's taking the best parts of different MMOs and kind of putting them together. Well, one of those things is the way Elder Scrolls Online does some of the crafting. There's certain items that can only be crafted at certain locations in the world. You have to bring the goods to a particular cave, and then outside that cave, there's a workbench, and you can craft that item at that particular location. So if you could have the goods and everything, but then again, you're going to have the friends. You're going to have to hire a caravan.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to have friends. Mm-hmm. Right. And you're going to have to freaking travel with all that freaking equipment, the mats and everything, to go craft that freaking item you want to craft. I'm looking forward to that kind of stuff. The more work, the better. And it's one of the things that I think freaking has really destroyed MMOs over the years is the people who Well, I don't have time for all that. You know, that's too much effort. That takes too much freaking time. How am I ever supposed to compete against those kind of people? Because I have a real life. I have a real job. I can't sit there and play for 16 hours straight. Boo hoo, boo hoo, boo hoo. It's the nature of the freaking game. You do it a little bit each time you log on. You just are not going to do it as fast as someone else who gets to play much, more often.
Yeah.
So I hate the fact when those kind of people cry and then the developers turn around and they say, okay, we hear you and we're going to dumb this down to the point so that even you guys are going to be freaking happy. And then it makes the people who were happy with the old way not happy. You can't
Exactly.
appease everybody. And it's another quote that I have in my freaking MMO Messiah video is Steven says point blank, look, we know we're not going to freaking, please everybody, and we're not trying to. And I love that when he freaking said that. It's like, okay, so he's got a vision of what he wants here, and he's planning no matter how much a minority of freaking or a majority of freaking people may freaking hate his ideas, he's gonna stick to his vision, and I gotta fucking respect him for that.
No, for sure. I mean, here's the thing too. Like, are we trying to cater to the casuals, or are we trying to at least cater to the 4 million people registered on Ashes of Creation? Because I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, there's over 4 million people that registered on the official website, made an account. That means they had to have seen something, whether it was the Lazy Peon video, whether it was a streamer interview, something to go and make them like actually like
or word of mouth. You just had a friend who told you to go register, but it still doesn't negate the fact that I think that on day one, when people go in, it's going to be interesting to see what day one is in Ashes.
Yeah.
With the whole corruption system and everything. Well, at this point, as a level 1 character, we know that there's no bounty hunters yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's freaking start ganking and killing people right off the freaking bat. It's like, what kind of punishment is going to happen? It's going to be really freaking. It's going to be like the Wild West on day one, I think, with Ashes.
Well, it's going to have to be all player tested, I'm sure. I mean, I would be down that if you kill someone, you're like, you spawn at your little gravestone or whatever. But then if you do it again, you're not going to be able to spawn for like 5 minutes. You kill someone again, maybe 30 minutes. So it's like there should be some sort of a halt there to stop you from just killing people like without consequence to that extent. Because if you're going to break all your starter gear, that's fine. I'll just delete this character and make a new one, But
you had to kill 5 rats to get it anyway, so just go kill 5 more rats and get your armor again.
Exactly. So I feel like, of course, all these things do have to be tested. I think the biggest thing that I am looking forward to is the fact that there is going to be server prestige and to actually be known in your server to do something. Because back in Classic, man, like there was an ammunitions guy for engineering that made my bullets and my arrows because I was a hunter. So I would just message him and be like, hey, I'm running low. Like, when can you meet me? Or, when can you send me some more? And he's like, oh yeah, I have some ready. It's like, just send me this much gold or silver or whatever. And that's how it was. It was nice having that kind of connection, because it's like, I don't need to buy them at a vendor because I have the better ones that I can get made from this dude. And I miss that. I miss that sense of identity, because they're just professions in a lot of other games suck. They really do. And I want the professions in Ashes to be very extensive and very cool. Like to where because I think there's like 13 professions or like 14 professions in Ashes. If you think of like the gathering, the processing, and the crafting, that's a lot of to pick your poison, right? Like of what
there might be more that we don't even know about. There were ones that were even talked about that may have been eliminated from the game already, but then we don't know. See, and that's one thing. The wiki is not complete.
Yeah, it's
and
not
everybody's treating it. Everybody's treating it like it is. Yeah, everybody's treating it like if it's in the wiki, then it's fact. And the thing is, Steven is still developing this freaking game, and stuff that's happening in his mind changes on a daily basis. So what he has planned, what he would like to do, he may find out later, oh, you know what? Because of this, that's not going to work. and then he's going to eliminate that one aspect, and then something else is going to get freaking added. So yeah, guys, especially those of you who are spending a lot of time freaking reading that damn wiki and everything, just take it with a grain of salt, because I've even in the year and a half that I've been doing the burning discussion, usually define a topic for my show, the wiki was one of my go-tos, and in a year and a half time, I've seen some of those things that were in the wiki change. And then we have to like go back, and it's like, well, I know in the past episode we stated that this has this freaking particular benefit or whatever. Well, that's not true anymore. And there's a lot of placeholders in the freaking game that we're not aware of what is actually going to be in the game and what's actually a placeholder. Hell, all the abilities that we experienced in freaking Alpha 1, they were all placeholders. And they they even did little freaking character videos that were kind of showing some of the freaking the abilities and everything. But then after the freaking Alpha 1 and everything, Steve says, yeah, those were just placeholders. You know, you don't know what the real abilities are going to be. And if you go into the wiki, if you look at all the classes, some of the classes, I think there's a couple of them that you could click on and it shows like all their freaking abilities. But yet these are characters that we didn't even freaking play or test in the freaking alpha. They didn't even freaking exist in the alpha. So how can you say these are all the freaking abilities? It's just like I said, everything is not etched in stone, and we don't know what the actual abilities are going to be until probably toward, I would say Alpha 2. What's in Alpha 2 is going to probably be a good indication of what the final stuff is going to be. And then we open up into beta and we give it that final once over, that final test, that final polishing before freaking release.
And so you mentioned Alpha 2, in your opinion, is not going to come out probably next year.
I think spring of next year.
So why do you think that they're far behind? Because spring of next year will be 7 years of them creating this game.
And that's how long it usually takes an MMO to freaking be created. However, a year into it, Intrepid realized that there was a major freaking thing wrong with the whole foundation of their coding, and they had to hit the reset button and start over. So they're a year behind. Okay, but the good thing is they caught it relatively early. Mm-hmm. If they had gone and got to the point where they are now and then realize, oh shit, our code is really freaking broken in this aspect, and to have to hit the reset button now,
yeah, it would have been
really freaking screwed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they caught it really early, which was the whole reason. You remember the other Ashes, yes, that was the whole purpose of that. It was something major to do with the siege battles and everything, and upon freaking testing Apocalypse and everything, shortly after when they started doing the MMO part of it and everything, they realized there was something fundamentally wrong with the code, and they hit the reset button and started over. So we are literally 1 year behind. So, but I actually think it's very possible that when COVID fucked up a lot of things. Am I allowed to swear? I do occasionally let the New York cab driver comes out every now and then, and I don't mean for it to, but I just kind of slips out.
That's fine.
COVID screwed up a lot of freaking things for a lot of people. However, I think in a way it kind of worked in Intrepid's benefit. When everybody had to start working from home and everything, they seem to have gotten a lot of stuff freaking done during that period of time. They didn't want to just sit on their freaking asses. And people still had to freaking get together, probably in Skype calls or something with Steven to show what they've been doing. Hey, have you just been playing around at home? Am I paying you for nothing? What have you done? So they were really freaking productive. And I think they accomplished a lot during that time. And right now they're back in the freaking studios. They're supposed to be giving us the freaking studio tour soon. He keeps putting that off for whatever freaking reason. And now that they've switched over to the freaking Unreal Engine 5, now more people can log into the same thing and start working on the same parts of the freaking game at once. So that's going to speed stuff up even more. So the whole thing, like I said, they were already a year behind, but I think Unreal Engine 5 possibly, I mean, don't quote me on this. I don't know. I don't work for Intrepid, but possibly because of the way Unreal Engine 5 works, they could possibly be making up that freaking year. They could be making up ground and getting back closer. Yeah, we noticed that when we were playing the alpha, what we were actually playing, and then they had the monthly updates. That he still did his live streams, and what Steven would show in the live streams were two different clients. We could tell by the chat, the way the chat looked, that's not how it looks in what we're playing and everything. So they are on a much higher build, a much more advanced build. Okay. There's a lot of people that don't realize that. But with Unreal Engine 5, we know that that's in freaking place. And guess what? We've only seen one video so far of the Unreal 5 in effect. I can't wait to see the other biomes. The swamp lands and just if a snow cave can look like that, I can't wait to see what the volcanic part of it freaking looks like
with the ash and stuff. Oh, dude, it's gonna look insane.
Yeah, it's just gonna be. You asked before. Alpha 2 is going to be such a major difference compared to Alpha 1, and like I said before, those people who sat there and watched those Twitch streams during Alpha 1 and said, oh, this is a piece of junk, I'm not interested in this. I really hope those people go back and watch the Alpha 2 footage.
Oh, they will. Because Asmongold will be playing it. Oh, yeah. And today, it's crazy. So, today of the recording, it's the 11th. And so, Asmongold was streaming Lost Ark today, and he streamed to over 400,000 people. That's the most I've ever seen a single individual that isn't a company stream.
Because the servers were down and he was actually openly taking. It's my fault, guys. He was actually about some of it, so and everything. So,
but I'm just saying, like, and he's a huge supporter of Ashes of Creation. I mean, and Asmongold and Steven have a great relationship on the back end. Like I'm sure Steven asked him for the Unreal 5 announcement because Asmongold streamed. On his stream, the announcement for Unreal Engine 5. And so I'm sure Steven reached out to Asmon and a couple of other creators to be like, hey, can you at least react to our content? Because we feel like this is going to be really huge for the game. And they did, you know what I mean? And a lot of people really want this game to be not only good, but to be the envisioning of like their childhood MMO, like the thing that made them excited about MMOs. They want Ashes to encompass that.
I think it's a and who said it? I can't remember who the frick said it. Someone freaking was talking about the name Ashes of Creation, and what they basically said, it kind of has a double meaning. The phoenix rising from the ashes and everything, which is a big thing in the lore of the game itself and everything. But also the MMO genre itself rising like a phoenix out of the ashes. And that's the part that I'm hoping to see, because like I said, it's been a dying genre for years now. And I have to, when you have a game like Amazon, New World, and being released by Amazon, and then it ends up becoming another epic freaking failure, it's freaking heartbreaking to see that. However, it's become the norm for when you're allowing these big ass freaking companies who want to have a timeline to release trash because they want to release it by a certain date. And that's just, New World should have known better, because they released it and everyone said, you know what, this is broken, this sucks. So they unreleased it, let it cook a little bit more, and then re-released it, and it was still freaking garbage. And Steven, I'm kind of glad it happened in the aspect that Steven got to see all this. He got to see that now the MMO community, the MMORPG community as a whole, are just fed up with the bullshit. And he got to see how everyone just went freaking total ape shit on freaking New World's ass, and just freaking that people were very freaking vocal in videos, on Twitter, you know, in forums. They got very freaking vocal because it is the straw that broke the camel's back finally. And Steven, as an MMO player himself, is sitting back, and he can totally relate with how all these players are feeling. And it's like, you know what, I have to get this freaking project done right, because they're gonna lynch mob me if I'm freaking if it's anything less than freaking perfect. They're going to lynch mob me. Okay, everything that Steve has freaking promised in the freaking game, I have said to friends that if he delivers on half the stuff, the game is going to be a success. It's a very ambitious project of what he's trying to put into this game and everything. But where you just stabbed yourself in the foot is you stated you're going to have this and you're going to have this. And you know what? That's important to some people, and that's important to other freaking people. You better freaking deliver on what you freaking promised.
Yeah, and I don't think Steven's not going to deliver, because this is, again, he always refers to Ashes as his baby, and these are
I'm
things
hopefully
that
optimistic.
Yeah, and he, again, when you spend your own money on a project, you don't want to see that project fail. Like, and that's what he's doing. Like, he knows that the excitement is real for people when it comes to this game. But I can't even imagine being Steven himself, to be honest with you, because like, to know that you have the capability of making this game and to see it all unraveling before your eyes, I mean, it has to be very emotional, because looking at all the things that he probably really wants to talk about, like, and he can't talk about it because, like,
it's
torture.
Be me up.
It's torture, you know, because you want to talk about all the cool things you just saw 5 minutes ago, and it's right there, and you're like, oh my god. And it's just like, Steven reminds me so much of myself, because it's like, I'm a very passionate person. When I love something, like, I love it all the way. I go all in, you know. That's and that's why it took me almost 16 years to stop playing WoW, because I really love the game, and but I love the former version of it, and I really couldn't see it for what it was. And I think for a lot of MMO players, it's like that. We have this sort of double relationship kind of thing, because it's like it's a love-hate, you know. We love the old, but we hate what it's become. And I think Steven is really trying to just bring it home for people. Like, and I think, and here's the other thing too, a little bit of trivia. Most MMOs that are basic, and I mean basic in the sense of, like, it's just your average of the run MMO with professions, classes, blah 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 blah, right? While World of Warcraft was developed in 5 years and put out to the public in 5 years. Star Wars: The Old Republic, 7 years. Final Fantasy 14, if you count 1.0 and 2.0, it's 9 years. Long time for that one, just because, again, the debacle that happened. It takes an awfully long time to make an MMO. This MMO is even more ambitious than a lot of those MMOs. So a lot of time,
and developed by a studio that doesn't have a huge staff. Well, and that's one of the biggest things there. Comparing Intrepid Studios to Blizzard, Blizzard has a lot more freaking hands to put in front of those freaking computers and get the coding freaking done for the damn game.
Correct.
Intrepid, I believe the last count I checked, I think there was somewhere around the 80 something freaking employees. They do want to get up to 100, close to 200 or something.
No. In January, they were at over 120.
Okay.
They said
so he's done a lot of hiring.
Yeah, he's done a lot of hiring, and then he also said in the January live stream that they hired 6 more. So people were saying like 126 because you said 120 and then plus 6.
And that makes a lot of freaking sense, because we just saw a lot of freaking employees leave freaking Blizzard. We saw a lot of freaking employees leave UBI Soft recently too, because of a bunch of drama that happened with that freaking company. There's a lot of freaking good freaking people who've worked on these kind of games available.
Oh yeah.
And and with Ashes, we already got freaking people who have worked on games like freaking PlanetSide, Call of Duty,
Yeah.
Vanguard,
Star Wars
Star
Galaxies
Wars TIE Fighter, and Galaxies, and DC Universe
Online.
Online.
Mhm.
So he's got someone from all these freaking genres. And the PvP aspect of that, the people who've worked on stuff like PlanetSide. Okay,
Oh
so
yeah.
these are people. PlanetSide holds one of the all-time records of having the most freaking people on the screen at one time doing battles. So this is going to help Steven with his freaking siege battles tremendously. And Call of Duty, shit, hands down, one of the best freaking most reactive freaking combat-oriented
Shooters.
freaking games you can get. So these programmers are definitely going to be a freaking asset. It's the people that he's hired throughout this freaking this process, and who have worked on AAA products in the industry but have jumped ship or just migrated to he's not a AAA freaking studio, but at the same time he's not an indie studio. Intrepid is somewhere kind of like in between. But it's impressive the amount, the talented staff that he has on hand right now. And then you look at like I said, the Bear McCree, he's got hired for the freaking music. No one's gonna freaking deny that the artwork that we're seeing from the skins and the world and everything, their graphics crew is absolutely freaking tremendously just talented.
Yeah, Michael Bacon did such a great job with just the overall view of the environment. I mean,
Yeah.
and even with him leaving, like I know people were disappointed, but I mean, it's what happens. You know what I mean? And especially right now, Steven is also fighting a losing battle because he isn't a AAA studio and everybody is hiring. Blizzard, Riot, Bethesda. You have other indie studios right now too that are like Mike Morhaim's company, Dreamhaven, like all these companies. And again, it's like if Steven has a budget that he has for Ashes, he doesn't have infinite money either. But you have $1 billion company like Amazon that's suffering right now because New World sucks and they got to hire some actual talent. They're going to pay the bucks. They're going to pay above industry standard, where Steven may only be able to afford industry standard salary, So the fact that he's able...
This is one of the reasons why I think he keeps releasing cosmetics on a monthly basis, even before the game is already out. Okay, not that he needs the money at this freaking point, but at some point he may, and it's the more that's coming in, the better. And as long as he does it right, and when I say right, have you ever played Fortnite?
No.
Okay, so
Never played it. I've seen it, but I never really dove into
it. So it's free to play. Download it sometime, just for the hell of it, from Epic Games. It's free. And just go into their cash shop. Okay, the only thing they sell in their cash shop are cosmetics. Okay, that's all they sell, and that's in my opinion the proper way of doing a cash shop. Just sell cosmetics. But you go in there and they have Book of Boba Fett freaking cosmetics. They have Valentine cosmetics. They have NFL cosmetics. They have cosmetics for everything under the freaking sun. Whatever your favorite thing is, they have a cosmetic that's going to suit your freaking needs. And that looks really freaking good. And if this art crew just keeps pumping out cosmetics like this, they're going to make... And as long as they also reasonably charged a decent price for the cosmetics. Yet at the same time, don't alienate the freaking paid players. Allow them to get the same kind of cosmetic within the game somehow if they don't want to pay for it. Because not everyone has unlimited freaking bank accounts. And maybe the version that you have to actually work for in the game is a slightly different variation of the one that's being sold in the cosmetics. In the cosmetic shop. So as long as he's doesn't alienate freaking people with the cosmetic shop, sells the stuff at a decent price, and keeps it cosmetic only without supplying any kind of pay to win or anything, because like we said earlier, people will just pull out the pitchforks and go after him for that and everything. He can stand to make a shitload of money just from the cosmetic shop, because again, he's gonna plan on freaking surviving from the subscription, which, okay, you don't have the box cost, but you still have that subscription. The only part about that model that concerned me is what happens when you kick someone from the game, you ban them. They could just, with a new email address, sign up again, and you're back in the freaking game for $15. Where if you had to actually buy the game for the normal price tag of $60, it's a little bit, it's twice as much, to freaking get back in the freaking game. I don't know how much that would actually slow some of these guys down and everything, but I hope that they, as far as things like botting goes and that kind of stuff, that they actually really have something planned to put some kind of, extreme penalties in freaking place.
Well, yeah, I think the cash shop, the one aspect I love about the cash shop and how Steven described it is you won't be able just to buy something and immediately put it on the day you buy it. Like if you don't have the in-game item like to that's comparable to unlock it, then it'll stay locked until you earn it in game. And I love that. I think that's
how many times have you played an MMO and on day one people are wearing fucking epic gear in the starter location?
Yeah, I know.
And it just ruined the whole immersion.
Exactly. And you're down the road you might be able to, but at least for launch, you can have all those cosmetics, but you aren't going to be able to put anything on. Unless there's going to be some special cosmetic you might be able to, but it'll be like a piece instead of like a whole outfit. But I mean, I guess to wrap this up, this whole conversation,
because we could go on forever.
Yeah, we literally can go on forever. This is the same question I've asked a lot of the other people the past 3 episodes. Why do you feel Ashes of Creation is going to succeed?
I don't.
Well, that's the show, guys. Thank you so much.
And I've said it before. I am hopefully optimistic that they will succeed. I've had my heart freaking torn out of my chest way too many times, and Steven knows where I'm coming from with this and everything. So I can't openly say, "Oh my God, I can't wait for you to create the bestest game in the world," because I've heard that shit before. Yeah. I'm at a point now where deliver it and prove it.
Yeah,
I need to see it with my own eyes. I do have enough faith in it that I invested $500 to go and be in the alpha, and help play test and help report bugs and everything, because I do believe that it has a good chance of succeeding where others have failed. Mainly because of, like I said, because of things Steven has said. Steven being a game player before anything else, he was a guild leader in freaking Lineage 2 for a raiding guild, which kind of cracks me up because he's like the worst person I've ever seen in combat. Whenever I watch his freaking videos, he just totally sucks ass, and he'll be the first to admit it. No offense, Steven, it is what it is, but and because he doesn't have to answer to anybody, and as long as he sticks to his own vision, and I think that's really freaking important, especially when you're sinking this kind of money into it. You are creating your dream. You are creating the game that you've always wanted to play. And chances are, Steven being a gamer, the game that he's always wanted to play but never existed is probably the same game that a lot of us has wanted to play, and it just has never existed, because these EA and Blizzard, they're not good at listening to the people. You can complain all the time you want in the forums and everything, but they're not great at listening to the people and taking what the people say seriously to the point of let's implement that. It happens very rarely. Well, but Steven being an actual player, that's a big difference.
No, for sure. You say you don't have hope, but for someone that would spend $500, I think somewhere in you do want to have hope. You do want this game to succeed.
I'm hopefully optimistic. Yeah. That's the term I keep using. I want to see it succeed. I think it could. I also think I also, like I said, Steve could be the biggest freaking car salesman we've ever seen, and it ends up being another incident of us being lied to, and it just never comes. Look, guys, how many of you out there freaking went and bought freaking Star Citizen because of all the damn promises? You know, how many freaking people pre-ordered and got Cyberpunk? Okay, and was so freaking happy with that freaking game and all the promises that were given to you.
I get it. I get it.
There was a time, dude, when we wanted a new game, we had to go to our electronic boutique, GameStop. We had to go to a computer store, and we would hold the actual box in our hand. We would read the back description. You couldn't. If you wanted reviews, you had to buy PC gaming magazines. There wasn't all this social media aspect to it.
Yeah.
So, and in those days, when you bought a game that was on a CD or a DVD and you brought it home, that game worked 100% out of the freaking box. Yeah. It may require 1 or 2 patches throughout the year, or actually throughout the lifetime of the game, but that's it. None of this 100 gig freaking download on day one, you know, because we released a unfinished freaking product and you guys have freaking bought an unfinished product, and here's a little bit more of it, and we'll get more of it finished in the next month or so. I hate where gaming is right now. I really do. Gaming is in a terrible freaking place right now, and it's not limited to just the MMO genre. It's all freaking AAA studio games.
Yeah, they're trying to cut corners. I completely agree. I think for me, I have more cautious optimism for Ashes of Creation, just because, you know, we don't want to be disappointed, and I think that's why I wanted to make sure that I can go in Alpha 2 and test this game and give all of my knowledge and all of my history from WoW and say, even from WoW's perspective, I think this is good, or I think this is terrible. I think this needs to be changed. I think this needs to be tweaked, you know, and just, but I need to go in for myself, because I may say XP debt is a bad thing, but if this game is truly that party centric game, right, where you need people to quest with, it may not even be an issue, because death in this game compared to other MMOs may not be the same. So it's an unfair comparison. We don't know. So
it's going to be hard to gauge that in the alphas also, because when you're in the alpha, well, in Alpha 1, they had the PvP part of it turned off. So we couldn't, I think the first day they allowed it, and then they turned it off because a couple of people were crying that they kept getting ganked or whatever. So they turned it off. And I think when they turned it back on, most of the people just weren't attacking each other anyway, because we just wanted to do the quest line and explore the stuff. You know, I think a lot of people have the mentality that the quests that you see in the alpha were going to end up being in release at some point. Dudes, you guys were on an alpha island. That shit's not going to be in the final version of the game. So wipe that out of your freaking mind right now. They were dummy quests, dummy NPCs, and that's all going to be freaking erased. But we're not going to really get a good scope of how everything feels until probably the second half of that Alpha 2 and going into beta. And I'm looking forward to that. I really am. And I hope that we're going to group up and we're going to actually go ahead and freaking explore some of this stuff together, because I think you and I could have a freaking blast freaking getting into trouble together.
Naval stuff is going to be so interesting, because I played World of Warcraft the whole time. Naval stuff was not in that game at all, so to have a whole system that I've never explored before it's going to be really cool. But I didn't want to
just building those ships is going to be such a freaking pain in the ass, because you're going to have to rely on so many freaking people.
Yeah. Well, and just to kind of, you know, formally say this, right? So you have Burning Discussion. I just became a member of Burning Discussion. So
yes, he did.
So it's kind of like a cool thing. So and Burning Discussion is on Mondays, but is it every other week, or like when do people tune in usually?
It was every week until the new year started, and because the information that's coming out of Intrepid has trickled down to almost a standstill, we decided to go every other week, unless let's say Steve does a live show this week and it's our week to have off, but if he comes up, with the Intrepid freaking live show or whatever, then we'll say, all right, we're gonna have a show this week because now we have something we can freaking report on, that something that we can discuss. So right now, until more information comes out, we're kind of doing it every other week.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's cool. I mean, and they can watch it on your YouTube channel, right? They just search Extermicide and then Burning Discussion will be there.
Yep.
And then, of course, Twitter. You have your Twitter. Do you have a Twitter specifically for Burning Discussion, or is it with Extermicide?
There's an Extermicide account. There's a Burning Discussion account, and then I also have another thing that I do called ×2 Review, which have you met Ark yet, Arkin?
I have not yet. I have not.
Okay, so we brought you on board, but Arkian is taking some time off to do some schooling and everything for his job, and then he's going to be coming back. But it was one of the reasons too that we were doing the let's do a Burning Discussion, then have a week off. So when we have a week off from Burning Discussion, me and Ark are also doing ×2 Review, and where we go in and play a random free-to-play game, and then do a review on that free-to-play game, and we both score it individually and then average the freaking scores, and it gets a final letter grade. So it's not a one person. With all due respect, I have much respect for like Lazy Peon. I think he does a great job with his type of reviews and everything. But our reviews are not based on one person's opinion. It's based on multiple people's opinions, and then the scores are averaged together to come out with a final letter grade. That's how we are different compared to Lazy Peon. So we have that show, we have Burning Discussion, and then my regular content, my regular gaming content, which is my own. So yeah, I stay busy. I've been, I have not been playing as much as playing much of anything lately. And you've asked me to get into Lost Ark, and I can't. I'm still editing videos, and that seems to be my freaking life right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm right now in the process of making my griefing video, which by the time they're watching this, they would see the finished product, which I hope I can see the finished product, because this video has been really challenging.
Looking forward to it.
There's so many different interconnected things I got to describe before I actually talk about griefing. But Extermicide, thank you so much for just coming on and having a chat. I really appreciate this, because like, again, when we talked originally, like, we just clicked and everything was just really chill and cool, and
he came into my Discord. He introduced himself and everything, and then what happened? We started talking for hours, just like we are right now, and it was just a natural. You said it best earlier. It was like we had both just walked into a pub. We sat down next to each other. We both ordered a beer, and we just started freaking talking.
Yep.
And we talked for like a couple hours, and then during that couple hours, like, you know what, you need to come on freaking Burning Discussion. In fact, yeah, you're going to be a permanent freaking part now. And we just kind of hit it off real good. So, it was my pleasure being here. And if you ever want to have another one of these, I'm up for it. It was fun.
Awesome. And like I said, my whole goal on this is just to really give you more of a platform to talk more about yourself. Because I feel like a lot of times with content creators, you don't get to talk about yourself more. You have to talk about the content and what you're doing. But this gives people a little bit of an insight as to like who you are as a person, because I think
I don't want to talk about the content. I want to spank Steven's ass, man. I want man, get this freaking game out, man. What the hell are you waiting for?
Oh, he is. I guarantee you.
I love Steven to death. I have the most fucking utmost respect for him. I wish I could give him a big hug and everything. It's Margaret that pisses me off. I have a conversation going on with Steven, and Steven, is at some point we're going to have him as a guest on freaking Burning Discussion. But every time I ask him, he's like, let me check with Margaret and see what she says. And Margaret, for some reason, is keeping him off my freaking show. So take it to the freaking Intrepid forums, please, or their Discord and everything, and start saying you need to be on Burning Discussion. We need to get his ass over there, because Burning Discussion, when we get people freaking on, I ask the questions that others are afraid to freaking ask. We're gonna get some real freaking answers.
All right, well, hopefully, and like I said, like I'm looking forward to it, because I think Steven's always been sort of a straight shooter. I think a lot of the questions that I've been asking the interviews, it was only because they didn't know about the game. So Steven was more explaining his vision more so than details, like specific details about the certain systems, you know, because many of the people that interviewed him didn't even know the systems. So they had to ask questions like, well, what is this system? How does it work? You know, but
Hey, I'm gonna shoot this out real quick for Steven. Steven, if you do watch this freaking video, there's a lot of us right now, and you don't even realize you got some lost revenue freaking happening right now. I realize the game's not out right now, but if you could get an Ashes of Creation coffee mug and an Ashes of Creation freaking t-shirt for those of us who are content streaming and everything, we'd all be buying that shit right now.
oh man,
In a heartbeat.
if they had a map of Vera that I can put on my wall, I would.
Oh,
so
really? There's so much
Yeah.
freaking lost
Oh my
opportunity
God.
going on right now.
Yeah. Well, Extermicide, thank you so much, man, for just having this chat with us. And like I said, usually like I try to do these every Wednesday. It just goes up one at a time. I know with 1v1, it's just I love getting to know the Ashes of Content creators because or Ashes of Creation content creators because you know there's a certain passion that they all have, and I just love, you know, just talking about it, just kind of talk more about Ashes. So I appreciate it.
Anytime. Have fun.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you guys so much for joining in and listening to our discussion, and I will see you in the next one.
Peace.